Ahoy, my friends! Ahoy, my mateys! Ahoy, gamers and swashbucklers alike! Welcome back to the Gaming Galleon. I'm Cap'n RAZ, and for the next 60 minutes, we're going to be playing some video games, reminiscing, talking about some deals of the video game kind, and of course, addressing your questions, comments, and concerns at the end of the hour in the bag that tells no tales. Right back there. We're in Carbondale, Illinois this week. Carbondale, Illinois, not for any real particular reason. There isn't anything specifically remarkable about Carbondale, Illinois, aside from the fact that I happened to be there when a very special video game system came to be. This is the system. Today, for the first time, by hook or by crook, hopefully things turn out all right. We'll see. This is all one take, so we'll see how it goes. We're going to be trying to play the Sega Dreamcast today. The Sega Dreamcast, some people refer to this as the final retro console. Now, I don't know about that. I'm not sure what I would put it at, but they say that mainly because this was the last real system before the internet kind of took over gaming. This was the last game where every game you ever wanted to get was still physical. You had to buy a physical copy. This was dial-up. I think there was broadband. Yeah, if you want to drop a couple $100, you could get a broadband line, but most Dreamcast came with that little phone line there that you would plug in for dial-up. So while it had some online play, it was the first two. While there was a website browser on this guy, it was more trouble than it's worth. The internet kind of was for the most part back then. So yeah, after this though, you got into kind of PlayStation 2 and Xbox era, and while the Dreamcast was out during that time, it didn't have a lot of stuff that those systems had. Specifically, no DVD player. I always personally thought that was really the death note for the Dreamcast. But the other big one was, you couldn't buy full games to download onto this thing like you could with the PlayStation 2. Could you do that with the PlayStation 2? Maybe I'm wrong. Now I feel like I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. Could you do it with Xbox 360? Or Xbox? Original Xbox? I think you could. See, I don't know about much of it, and the reason why is because I had a Dreamcast. But I didn't... I was not someone to help the Dreamcast. I was a vulture when the Dreamcast came out. The Dreamcast came out September 9th, 1999. At the time, I was in my first serious job. Still in college, but I got a full-time job in my field. And so I was basically going to school all morning and afternoon and working all evening, late into the night, till around 10 or 11 o'clock. So I had a busy life and not a lot of money to go around. Carbondale, Illinois is a pretty nice area. It's right on the southern tip of Illinois, right at the bottom. And it's a college town. There's lots of places to party. There was a couple of malls because there was still that mall area. Online shopping hadn't completely taken over everything yet. So I remember bumming around the mall. I remember partying, and it had my personal college, Southern Illinois University, where I went to school. But we're not talking about Carbondale really today. Basically, the reason we're in Carbondale is just for nostalgic purposes, mainly because of the Dreamcast. That was where I really sunk my teeth in to the Dreamcast. It was 2 years after the system had been released, maybe a year and a half. The system released on September 9th, 1999. Why do I remember that? Because it's very easy. It's 9999. That was their marketing ploy. But the system was only out for 2 years. And I remember a month or two watching GameSpot.com. I would look there for news, and there was a rumor happening that Dreamcast was going to drop. It was going to discontinue manufacturing. The price was going to drop, and it was going to add a really nice game in to the bundle. So I believe what happened was the system died, and it was announced. And at the very same time that they announced discontinuing, as predicted, they announced that the Dreamcast would drop to $100. Your basic system with probably one controller. And in addition, they gave you a really nice game, which was the Sega Smash Pack. I regret I didn't bring it, but basically it's a compilation disc, which had 10 Genesis games on it. And it was a good selection. You had the easy stuff like Altered Beast and Golden Axe, but then you had the real time crunchers like Phantasy Star 2, Shining Force. I remember, and it even had a Saturn game, Virtual Cop, which was actually really good. And it's funny, I played quite a bit of it on the Dreamcast. Now, this disc, it wasn't emulated very well. If you play it today, and you're a purist when it comes to Sega Genesis, you may be horrified by the level of sound quality. It's very bad. I believe it's been referred to as like Atari level processing. I think when they emulated these games, the video quality came out right, but for whatever reason, the audio emulator that they used was of like 4-bit quality. So as a result, you're hearing like bleeps and bloops. It's really, not good. But for a guy like me who was living in a dorm room, to get a next generation system for $100 plus 10 games, whether or not they were of this generation, you can't, you couldn't say no. So I got the Genesis, and I was really happy with it. I remember playing Shining Force quite a bit, Virtual Cop quite a bit. Something else I'm forgetting that I really liked on that. Streets of Rage was on it. But anyway, then I started getting the actual Dreamcast games. And I started getting stuff like Jet Grind Radio. And I started getting stuff like Shenmue. And I started getting stuff like Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And Garou Mark of the Wolves. Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves. What a great game. Last Blade 2. And I would, every paycheck, would show up at GameStop, and I started buying up these games. And I think that I handled the Dreamcast, from a collector standpoint, I handled the Dreamcast better than I have any other system. And I really had to. It wasn't like the PlayStation 2, where you'll just find these games everywhere. The Dreamcast wasn't around for long. And even as later games were coming out, after it was discontinued, another 6 months or so, they were still releasing games, even though the thing was discontinued. They'd be retailing for around $30. So I really had to pick and choose. At the time, I was really into fighting games. I was really into Capcom. And I was not that into shoot-em-ups. And that's my one regret, is I never got any really quality shoot-em-ups for the Dreamcast. But week after week, I'd show up there, pick up something that I heard was either, late release or a fighting game, or something that I felt was going to be harder to find on other systems. And to this day, we have a stellar, I don't want to oversell it, but I would say we have a stellar Dreamcast collection. It's not every game. We're not completists here. But I think we've cultivated a very good collection. And the only reason that you have not seen more Dreamcast games here on the Galleon is because the wiring for the Dreamcast and the N64 especially are so old that it's very hard for us to get them hooked up to the Navigator. It creates havoc, glitches, everything resets if you do the one wrong thing. And, we're doing all this in one take. This is live to tape. Some of you may not think that's a big deal, but try it sometime. try to do a live tape for an hour, it's not always easy. And this is one of those times. So we're going to have to cross our fingers and make sure that this goes off right. We're going to go right into the game, because this is the kind of game you just go right into. We're playing the very hard to find, exclusive to the Dreamcast, Cannon Spike by Capcom. We're going to get more into exactly what that is when we come back, but for now, let's get started. It's Capcom's opus for the Dreamcast, Cannon Spike. Alright, I got some video for you. And let me get you some audio. You'll notice that everything's a little clunky today. Everything's a little slower. I mean, it's usually clunky enough on this production, but even more so today. Alright, here we go. Hold on. I think I may have lost your audio here. Oh my god. Properties. Okay, well hopefully you guys have audio. Doesn't look like I do for some reason. Again, this thing, the setup has been scotch tape and spit, but that shouldn't affect my skill. I've been playing this a long time. We're going right into very hard with Cannon Spike. There's, as you can see, 5 different characters to choose from. We're going to go with Cammy, because who doesn't know who Cammy is? You'll also notice that Arthur and Charlie are in here. I'll get into who they are later. But Cammy, if you don't know who Cammy is, you may not know much about video games. There's not much to this game. It's nothing but quality, but it's basically a top-down shooter. Started in the arcades. And to this day, it is very hard to find. I've never seen it in an arcade. I don't think it ever made it to America, but I could be wrong. Basically, you've got 5 characters to choose from, 2-player, and I mean, it's beautiful. And I think what drew me to it, aside from I'm into shooters, well, really, yeah, because I mean, there were other shooters. There were like space shooters, but at the time I wasn't that hot on those. But what I've always been hot on are, anybody notice who this is, by the way? Fallen Balrog? Balrog is what Vega's called in Japan, so this is actually like, that's Vega. Okay, well, we don't have audio. What a shock. I want to throw the Dreamcast through the wall, but we're just going to have to go without it. We'll go to the booty segment. We've got Bismuth on standby. Maybe he can try and figure out some way to get us audio during the booty segment. But we're just going to have to go. We're just going to have to deal with my beautiful tones at this point. And I apologize for that. We're not exactly sure why. I mean, we're just... Again, the technology here is so old. I'm sure there's 10 million jackasses on Twitch that know better than I do on how to do this. And God bless them. I wish I were as skilled as they are when it came to capturing this stuff, but I'm just not. I mean, hate me for it. What are you going to do? So, but when you're here every week, once a week, the most you can do live is just, you know, do your best. Continue on. And this really harkens back to our earlier shows, way back in the day. I was thinking Clarksville, probably our worst show, technically. Sometimes it's just going to happen. It's a labor of love, and it's part of the show's charm, the old Galleon's charm. Things aren't always going to work out exactly according to plan. I love these guys. First of all, their name, Rick Blue, Bob Green, and Ken Brown. And they all have their own different respective weapons. I haven't been using my weapons very much because I'm trying to adjust to not having audio. But basically, you've got about 4 weapons. And I think the reason this game, I made sure to grab this game way back in 2001, when it was only on shelves for like a month or two, was the crossover factor. You've got Cammy from Street Fighter 2 here. Ugh. Oh my god, die already. Charlie from the Street Fighter Alpha series, and even Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins. There's a couple other characters here too. One character who was never seen again. She's kind of like a pink-haired chick in plate mail. And then a guy named Shiva who's got a skateboard, who I was never aware of this. But, I did a little bit of research looking into Cannon Spike before the show. And apparently Shiba, who's got the skateboard, he's actually in Three Wonders, which was this really cool game for the arcade made by Capcom that was part platformer, part puzzle game, and part shooter. And I shouldn't even say part. It was more like all three games in the same cabinet. Three totally separate games on one cabinet. But they all took place in the same realm with the same characters. Now that makes me want to go back and play Three Wonders a little more, because I love Cannon Spike. So to find out that one of the characters that I always thought was original, I always thought Shiva was original to the game, has a little back lore. Now I'm curious to find that out. Now this is, you'll notice the variety here. We've played, what have we fought so far? We fight a giant gorilla. We fought a cursed Vega. We're fighting robots. We're fighting tanks. We're fighting soldiers. And we're all in these different settings every 5 minutes or so. The most fun, one of the coolest replay things about Cannon Spike is the first 6 levels. Do a little melee. I've actually got some melee attacks, but see what happens. Gotta be careful with them. The first 6 levels are always random. So next time we play, we could be fighting this guy on the first stage. Now that makes him a little weaker, makes him a little easier to take out. But I always think that's so... Oh, this is a good one, the Abandoned Bridge. But I just love, this is very Smash TV, and then it's like it's close-knit quarters. It's a little more advanced. You have more guns. Got about 4 different ways to kill people, 4 or 5 ways. Ugh. And, every time you play, you're going to be starting out a little different. I always thought that was the coolest thing about it. Obviously, it's score-based. And, I loaded my memory, but apparently I'm a wussy, and I've been not playing this on super hard my whole life. I think I've always been playing it on default. And as soon as maybe it's because I've been doing the Galleon for a while now, but I really wanted to say, hey, let's try super hard. And I've been able to hang. I mean, I haven't been able to beat it like this, but I mean, we're doing okay. We're doing work. What time is it? We're almost out of time here for this part. We'll come back in a second. Oh, my God. To do the booty segment. Ooh. Maybe we can get us some audio. Because it's a crying shame that we don't have it for this. Oh, Cammy's down. Yeah, I guess we'll stop right there. That wasn't bad. Okay. So we'll wrap it there for now. Give me that harp. Give us a little sound other than my voice here. Alright, there we go. Been having all kinds of problems getting this show off the ground. We had to start 15 minutes late. We were having network problems. We've had to reset the system 3 times. It's been a nightmare. But, we may be limping, but we're still walking. And that's really what the adventure's all about, isn't it? It can't always be just, you know, ease. I mean, what kind of adventure would that be if it's perfect every time? Is that really what you guys want? No, of course not. You want us here, you want us on time, you want us for an hour, but, you know, we can't guarantee perfection every time. All right, so anyway, let's get our show, let's get the booty segment started. I want to show you one cool thing about the Dreamcast. We're playing Cannon Spike, and the cannon, and you can see it says Cannon Spike right there on the memory card. Look at that memory card. Maybe one day we'll delve into exactly how these VMUs work. All right, so where were we? Oh, can you kill the Daz? Oh, we don't need to. There is no audio. Okay, so let's get into the booty segment. Here it is. Where are we at in time? Because I've got 2 deals. I'm not sure I want to do both. This was a bad deal. Well, this wasn't a bad deal, actually. It's a good deal. But if you ever wanted to see Cap'n RAZ make a huge blunder, sit back and grab a grog, because it's about to happen, okay? So I walked into this pawn shop. I hate this place. This place used to be a bastion of deals. A bastion of deals. These guys didn't care less about video games. They'd put them on a cart and push them out in the middle of the floor and just let you do whatever. It was amazing. And then one day, you get one jackass who seems to value video games, getting in there and getting his hands dirty in the place. That starts to spread. Next thing you know, you can't find a deal anywhere. Next thing you know, the video games are behind the counter. Next thing you know, they're not even coming out of the back room because he's making deals with some jackass who's doing a flea market or something like that. So anyway, I walk into this place that I don't go to nearly as often anymore. And I happen to see on the shelf behind the young lady working there some Nintendo games. Very cool. There were only about 5 of them there, and I'm pretty sure there weren't going to be anything that great. But when I asked the price of $2, I figured, well, they're definitely worth picking up for that price. So let's see what we have here to start. One, two, three, four. Okay. Sports games. We usually never get them, with the exception of the Nintendo Entertainment System. That's the one platform where I feel like you just can't do wrong, especially for $2. So we started out with Goal, soccer game by Jellico. Label looks like it's in nice shape. Is that a big deal with a sports game? No, not really, but this is actually a very nice cart in general. If we could get that stupid sticker off the back, we'll be golden. Jeopardy 25th Anniversary Edition. You know, the only saving grace about this is that it's not sports. That's still not saying much. But man, what a nice label. When you have nothing else, at least you have the label. Bases Loaded 2. Second season. Double Dribble. Double Dribble. I'm hearing Double Dribble offset here. Double Dribble. You want Double Dribble?
Yeah.
It's all yours. Here, Gutch. There you go. All right. And finally, probably the best game in the lot, Pro Wrestling. Pro Wrestling, mainly because you just got a lot of great characters in this one. And for the collectors out there, look at that. It's no clip. All right? I know most of you don't care about that. There was a time when people did. Not anymore. All right. So you know, what? Not a wasted trip. $2 Nintendo games, right? But then I see this little collection of, you know, this little box. Got some PSP games in there and some plastic bags. Leads me to believe that this is their handheld box. Okay, so let's take a look at what we had in there. she pulled them out, and I saw some good stuff. And I said, you know, what are you doing on this? She's like, oh, $2. So let's take a look. There were 2 little baggies there. Full of nice stuff. Nice collection of Game Boy Advance and DS games. And I basically said, oh, $2, huh? If I get a lot, can you go a little lower? And I started looking at the games. And she said, let's take a look at them. Let's take a look at them. But remember that I said that. If I get a lot of them, can you go a little lower? So starting out, we have Mario and Luigi, Superstar Saga. Gonna get some autofocus today. That's always everyone's favorite thing. All right, there we go. A little autofocus. See if that works out. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. There you go. This is an RPG series that I've never really gotten into. I hear they're hilarious. But, I don't know. Never really struck my fancy. Next we have, very highly received, Metroid Zero Mission. There were 2 Metroids in the Game Boy Advance. There's Metroid Fusion, otherwise known as Metroid 4. And then this one came out after Zero Mission, which is basically a remake of the very first Metroid. I hear it's great. I actually haven't played either of them. And I don't know why, because I love Super Metroid. I sat down with that a couple years ago for my birthday, and it was like, man, it was like playing it for the first time. It's such a memorable game. So perfect. I should really sit down with at least Zero Mission. Maybe Fusion. I don't know. Kirby's Adventure in Dreamland? Oh boy. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the one that runs like Metroid. Or runs like a Metroidvania, open scenario, free roaming, and you have to find certain items or maybe transformations to advance to certain areas. So that sounds pretty cool for a Kirby game. I haven't played it. This one I played all the way through, believe it or not. I must have spent somewhere between 150 and 200 hours on this game. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance for one brilliant 6 months of my life, having this game and stuffed in a Game Boy Advance in my pocket for months and months. Strategically, strategy-wise, challenge-wise, it's not going to knock your socks off. It's really all about the minutia. And did you ever want to make your own team? This is where you can do it, or run your own guild. That's how to do it. Great game. And then finally, a game I don't know much about, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that one. There we go. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I've never played this one. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Looks like it was made by the same people who made Smash Brothers. Well, that's HAL Labs, right? It's got that dog that you always see at the beginning of Smash Brothers Melee. I don't see that often on games. So yeah, you got 5 pretty decent Game Boy Advance games here. And I had pulled more because they were $2 each. Or so they were supposed to be. Because I said, but what did I do? I screwed up. And I said, can you do a little less? So what does she do? She goes in the back. And as she's going in the back, that's when I see the guy, Mr. Savvy, is in the back room. Here I thought his day was off, or maybe he was on lunch break. Oh no, he's back there. And he's doing something that I've noticed some managers doing, and I really, really hate it. They're creating this... Pawn shops are all about negotiating, okay? They're all about getting a deal, getting this stuff out of here. We didn't pay much for it, so let's not ask much for it. Let's get it out the door. At least that's how it is in Indy. But you got a couple guys here who, what they do is they get in the manager position, and then they say, they're trying to maximize profits. So what they'll do is, but they don't want to deal with the headache of negotiating. So they'll have their clerks. If a clerk is approached about a negotiation at all, they're instructed to find the manager, who's usually in a back office or something, and say, this is what the customer wanted. And he's got all the time in the world to look up the price and mull it over and not have to argue with me. All he has to do is give her a number, and she comes back and says, hey, look, I'm just following orders. This is a business. They're allowed to do whatever they want to make their profit margin, but there's a part of me that just finds it cowardice that you would negotiate that way. But, of course, I'm the guy trying to find all the steals. So, anyway, we have some DS games, okay? I asked for $2 each, or I asked for, can you do a little better than $2? She came back out and said, oh, you know what? The Nintendo games are $2, but for some reason, all these Game Boy Advance games and DS games are $3 each. There's no price on this stuff. There's that guy in the back room knowing what he knows. And rather than look them all up, he's just going to get a little more out of me. He's going to squeeze a little bit more out of me. And that's exactly what he does. Big time. Now, what are we already at here? This is 5 Game Boy Advance games that we were getting for $2 each, but because of my greed, they're now $15 each. So that's an extra $5 that we paid. Now let's look at the DS games. And I had more. But then I had to really start picking the cream. Because at $3 each, it gets a little harder to play with. You get a little less wiggle room. Alright, I think the first one we found was Pokemon Platinum, which put us in a good spot because we got it. So now this is pretty much the one that's going to be on the chop to pay for. Stupid autofocus. The majority of what we have here. And we were going to try, we definitely didn't want to pay, we didn't want to eat this whole thing. It was just too much, okay? So we were looking for games that we were going to be able to flip. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Nightmare Troubadour. One of the harder to find Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, but nothing that impressive. This is great. I had this when it came out a long, long time ago. Before the collector days when I did trade stuff in, so I'm happy to find this again. The remastered Final Fantasy III. Very nice little game on the DS. It's pretty hot. You don't find this often. Find Phantom Hourglass all day, but Zelda Spirit Tracks, not so much. Now, we have a copy of this. We could sell this along with Platinum and pretty much make back all our money, but I know somebody who's trying to track down Spirit Tracks, so I'm actually going to cut a little deal with her, and I'll probably make a trade for like a $15 Super Nintendo game or something, so she can experience Spirit Tracks. Not the best Zelda game, but it is interesting that his mode of transportation for this is a train. So you're customizing and riding the rails of a train through the world of Hyrule. Kind of weird. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. I like time games, but I don't know, Mario and Luigi, there's not much there for me. Just not interested in that world at all. And then finally, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Side Story. Oh boy. Ugh, not really. I think it's because all the white. Oh, I was right there. There you go. Inside Story. Bowser's Inside Story. So what? They shrink down and they're inside Bowser? I'll just do anything in those. So, okay, so what was that? So it's 5 DS games for 15. Should have been 10, but my greed brought it to 15. And here's another 6. It should have been $12. Now we're looking at 18. So $18 plus the $15. Let's What's that work out to? 33. And then these guys, there were 5 of these, so 43. There was a PS2 game I didn't want to leave behind. Me and Katamari, I think he was doing, they did $3 on this as well. So really, we walked out the door here around $48. Ow. $48. And the most painful part about it is that we could have done so much better. We walked out of there hurt. But hey, at least Biz got double dribble. So double dribble, right. Alright. So there you go, 48. You know, we'll sell platinum. That'll cut it in half. So really at the end of the day we did okay. I mean, they're premium titles. Even without selling, it's a good deal. Honestly, most of those games will run you somewhere in the $20, $30 range. But it just sucks that I had to be so greedy. So watch it. Know where you're playing. Know the territory you're playing in before you try and cut corners. Okay? All right, let me cut the autofocus. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we should do this other guy? The black bag? We're 36 minutes in. Do we have audio?
Maybe.
Maybe. It's a gamble. Quite possible.
I mean, we could give him a little sneak peek of what.
Nah, we'll leave it. It's okay. We'll leave it until next week. Because this is 37 minutes.
I was saying like a sneak of that, and then you show him that.
Nah, I'll do it next week because I think it all ties in. All right. Well, wait. I think we're gonna. That's it for the booty segment. I wanted to show you the origin of the character we've been looking at for Cannon Spike. Let's take one more look at Cannon Spike here. You've got Charlie there from Street Fighter Alpha, and you've also got in that gold armor back there. That's with a very small Cammy right in front of him. You see that there? There's Cammy, and then that big hulking guy. That's Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins. Cammy, been living under a rock. She was from Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter. She's the little one. Don't count her out though. She packs a big punch. Most people have always really been into fighting as Cammy. I don't know. I'm never really. She's all right. She's okay. Charlie was in the Street Fighter Alpha series, basically Guile's comrade in arms. And both he and Cammy are in Street Fighter V, so they're both pretty relevant characters to this day. And then, of course, you have Arthur from the Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins series. What a great box art. Look at that. The lightning going through him there, and you got that level 1 ogre back there. He's got his head for a hand, and then his and then right here is his breastplate. He can put his head on there. Yeah, great game. Great game, Ghosts and Goblins. Very good stuff. This is a precursor to Maximo, which we've played in the past. Okay. So that's it, but you're like, well, great, Reyes. Exciting. This is a Capcom crossover game with Top Down, but aren't we missing someone? I mean, aren't we? All right, let's get back to the game. It's Cannon Spike for the Sega Dreamcast. Oh, man. It's not pretty, but we'll see if we can get you some audio here. Properties. I'm hearing something. Oh, busy. Saved the day. Attaboy. All right, let's get to it. Cannon Spike, the way it was supposed to be played. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Thank you, Biz. Let's give him a hand. Biz saving the day. Very hard. And like I said, we've got Cammy. We've got Charlie. We've got Arthur. Isn't there someone from Capcom we're missing? Well, of course, it's BB Hood. No, it's not BB Hood. It's Mega Man. Mega Man is actually in this. Let's play him. Should have rehearsed that joke, huh? That reveal, huh? All right, here we go. Look at this. And this, my friends, is probably why this game is one of the more expensive Dreamcast games. Because now that I think about it, aside from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, this may be the only other way to play Mega Man on the Sega Dreamcast. And what a way to play him. You also notice that things have changed up a little bit. We're dealing with these zombies right out of the box. We've got Bio Gorilla Bloody, and if we could just give a nod to the translation in this game, in that traditional Japanese style, the adjectives are the last things you see. You got Bio Monster Giant BB. You'll notice he's shooting less. He's less aggressive now, and why? Because we're on stage 1. He's not at full power. So, Cake. Is there much to this game? No, but let me tell you, this has got to be my favorite game in the Dreamcast, and the reason I say that is because I played it so darn much over the years. There are amazing games in the Dreamcast, like Shenmue and Skies of Arcadia, but these are games that, while they'll always hold a great place in your heart and be excellent games worth recommending, they're investments. You know, you really have to invest in the story of Ryu Hazuki and V's and his Sky Pirate crew. Whereas Cannon Spike, you just gotta press start, pick one of your favorite guys in Capcom history, and start blowing things away. I mean, how can you say no to that kind of invitation? Oof. But you know, that's what the Dreamcast is all about. It's really quality arcade experiences in the home. I think it really got its reputation from that through Soul Calibur and Crazy Taxi especially. But, you know, this is really a game that rounds those two out quite well. Maybe throw a fighting game in there, Capcom vs. SNK, or Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves. I say those before Street Fighter 3 because the Dreamcast controller is not really designed well for 6-button fighters. It's very well designed for 4-button fighters like SNK games. Games made for the Neo Geo where that hardware only had 4 buttons and not like the Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat's 5 or 6. So as a result, you know, games like King of Fighters or Last Blade 2 play like a dream on this little monster of a system. Okay, why am I not shooting him? There we go. There you go, Blue Bomber. Oh, here's my buddies again. This really reminds, you know, I always thought this was such a cool fight because it just took me back to the kind of stuff you would see on Toonami late at night. Just it's very Dragon Ball Z, and that there's, oh shoot, oh, all right, time to get serious. Wow, he took that. Oh, darn it! I don't know what time it is. I'll check after this. But yeah, there's no real backstory to these three guys, but they all have personality, distinct personalities, and they all work together to make an interesting little team for Cammy and the Blue Bomber to take out. Who's my favorite character in this play? It's really, I don't know, hard to say. They all play very well. I guess I would say I find myself playing Arthur, Charlie, and Mega Man the most. I'm not that into Cammy. Although she plays well. And then, you know, there's a couple of what I perceive to be original characters, so I had no real interest. For me, this is all about playing these classic characters I grew up with in this, you know, genre that I covet so much. The run and gun. And obviously you can play this with a friend as well. You guys can compete for score. Obviously the Dreamcast can save your scores. Oh! Come on. Come on. Whoa, that's fire. Whew. Mission 5. How are we doing on time? We got some time. Might run out these continues, see how far I can get. I'm trying to think of who I'm best with. Probably Arthur. He just does so much damage. And traditionally, in most games, I'm better with the slow and heavy hitters and the agile. I'm much better at soaking up damage and punishing than I am trying to evade attacks. This guy's got a sidecar. Oh, man. Let's see if I can get him with the melee attack. There it is. Insect Robo Overlord. Oh! And you'll notice that Cammy, BB Hood, and Mega Man weren't on the character sheet, the character roster initially. I didn't have to put in a code or unlock anything, you know, complete any achievement to get them there. Oh, man. This isn't good. Darn it. So close. Just for whatever reason, I think when this game was dropped to American audiences, they may have unlocked those two. But again, this was made in the arcade, so maybe they were characters you could unlock with a code in the arcade, and then when it released to American short or home release, they just decided to make everybody playable. Not exactly sure on that one. But it sure does legitimize this game a lot more, doesn't it? Like, you want to play a little more now that the Blue Bomber's in here? I think it really has something for everyone. Everyone plays vastly different. Of course, they all have that whew. They'll have this primary whittle down gun that I'm using. Oh my gosh. I'm going for it. Eat that, Flying Fortress Kabuki. This is a tough one. Snowboard Robo Rusher. Oh! Oh my gosh. 2 more credits. No, he's not done yet. Ah! Come on, baby. I got him. Oh! Musty with the bloody nose. Oh my gosh. There we go, we got him. Whew! Jeez. Alright, mission 7. So at this point... Oh, maybe it's the first 7 then. Because I know this... No, I don't... Maybe not. I think this is when it starts to get preset. Yeah, it is. It's the first 6. So now we're in pre-map world. There's maybe another 5 or 6 levels. You'll notice they're quick, they're fast, dirty. You know, they're down and dirty. These are, this is basically a boss rush game. Never made it anywhere else. It makes you wonder how successful this was in the arcade. And it also makes me wonder, was Mega Man in the arcade one at all? And if that's the case, if he wasn't, maybe that's... Oh. Oh my gosh. Maybe that's a big reason why it wasn't... We didn't hear... Oh, we didn't hear about this game anymore. His melee attack sucks. Maybe if I was pounding on him with a little attack. This guy's rough. Oh. Ah! Curse you, Jungle Master. Make sure you're not like me. Make sure when you're about to die, you use all your super moves. You've only got a few of them a life. And I have a nasty habit of not using them before I die. Alright, I did okay against him. Oh, jeez. Oh, it's Battle Rock again. It's Vega. It's Revenger Vega. He ran right into me, dude. Ah! 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 Alright, it isn't too bad. Oh, this guy's back. Revenger Fortress. And check it out, you know, not cutting corners here. He's not just the Fortress again. He's a totally different moveset. All the way to the end, that they pretty much keep it unique. Attaboy, Mega Man. Mission 9, Deep Shrine. Oh. Oh man, she was so close. Cat Lady Beauty got me. Alright, that's it. That's it for Cannon Spike. Oh yeah, BB Hood. I like playing BB Hood a lot in this too. So they're pretty good. the second place, Cap? I could, I could get my initials in there, but I just forget to do that. Oh my gosh. Ooh, are we finally clear of the stormy waters that are the Sega Dreamcast, at least for now? Jeez. That's rough stuff. How are we doing on time? 55. Alright, we got just enough time for a question. Check the mess hall, see if there's anything in here. No questions here, so let's go over to the mailbag. Yeah, so there you go. What a surprise there. We got BB Hood, who was in the Darkstalkers series. I don't have any Darkstalkers games, but she's in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and she's a blast to play in Cannon Spike. She's the one with the flamethrower, the obligatory flamethrower. And then, of course, we've got the Blue Bomber, Mega Man. What a great game. It's a game that I've been playing since I found my I picked up my Dreamcast years and years ago, and continue to play to this day. It's not easy to find. It's very expensive, and it's not on any other system. But if you're feeling loose with your booty, pick it up. All right, let's get a question here. From the mailbag. Let's dig deep in the mailbag here. How you doing? Okay, this comes from John Stephen Goodman. Hello, John. Thank you for the question. If you have a question you want to send it to the mailbag, send it to the Gaming Galleon. I'm sorry, send it to gaminggalleon@gmail.com. So John Stephen Goodman writes, what's your beverage of choice when you drink out of that huge mug? Well, the mug is more of a prop, unfortunately, these days. The funny thing about the mug is...
Turn the Dazzle audio off.
Thank you. I'll tell you, this stupid Dreamcast. There we go. Okay, sorry. So drowning me out with audio? I'm such an idiot. Alright, so. People are being so nice. There's a tally from space. Game audio is still going, sir. Just very polite of you, but I don't deserve that level of politeness. Anyway, this thing broke maybe the first month out of harbor. I had like a tall boy sitting in here, and I had the two sitting in the fridge like this. And then back when we had a fridge. And then, Pat the Swallow has to touch everything. And he pulls it out of the fridge. Oh, a mug. And, oh, there's beer in here. Oh, how about that? Well, I'll put it back. He drops it in there and shatters, maybe not shatters it, but certainly cracks this to the point where it's unusable. So, if I were to pick something to put in here, it's in the afternoon on a weekday. All right. Ultimately, I've been drinking a lot of cider lately. Cider's very good, but most of the time it's usually a pop or some water. Talking for an hour, it's nice to have a drink of water. Depends on the season. Sometimes I'll get something warm or coffee. Coffee's always good. So it varies. Like anyone else, I have a myriad of tastes, so and none of them very interesting. Okay, we're running out of time here. Let's see you off. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. I want to do the Dreamcast again, though, so it may happen. We're just going to have to ride those waters together. So, thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. And until next time, farewell and adieu to ye Spanish maidens. Farewell and adieu, ye ladies of Spain. For we received orders for to sail to Carbondale, and we may never see ye fair ladies again. Thirsty. Keep your powder dry, mateys.